right, guys. Fire away.
Patrick, your patience is something that you've always tried to talk about over the years and, of course, throughout the season. How would you assess your patience so far? And Tampa being a good example where a lot of the short passes really worked the way you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that I've learned over especially this last season and into this season is in order for our offense to have success sometimes I'm going to have to be patient and take the underneath stuff and get those throws to move the chains and trusting our offense that we're going to convert on third down. And then when the shots come, I have to be able to execute and hit them. And that's something that I think defenses are going to continue to do to us until I continue to prove it. And as the season goes on, I'm sure those big shots will continue to start happening more and more often.
What's the vibe like when you guys get that running game going? I know a lot was made about coach challenging the guys, and he can come around shaking everybody's hand and everything. But so much is the math and the analytics and things. But the physical side of football, when you guys can do what you were doing up front, and what does that do in the huddle?
Yeah, the tempo I think the O-line had from the get-go. I mean, you could tell in practice during the week that they were ready to bounce back. They felt like they didn't play their best in Indy, and that wasn't who they were. And so going up against the Bucs and a great defensive line, they could kind of go out there and prove that they still were top in the league. And so they got it going early at the run game, and it makes when we're running the ball like that, it makes my job a lot easier because then defenses have to change how they play.
Does that, everyone talked about kind of being off against the Colts, right? It was called a letdown game, different things. You guys didn't have the running game. Is that part of the physically beating somebody? Does that make it easier to get in sync and do all those things?
Yeah, and I think this year the offensive line especially is one of the strengths of our team. That's pass protecting and run blocking. That's a strength of our team, and we're going to have to play through them. So whenever they dominate and when they play at a high level, you see this offense play at a high level. So I think you saw it in the first week too. Early in the game, we really ran the ball well, and it forces defenses to adjust. And once they adjust, then we can kind of open it up with the pass game as well.
It's funny, as you say that, looking at that game, you all split down the middle, 37 pass attempts, 37 run. Does that make the job easier for you? I mean, would you prefer it that way? I mean, your numbers may not look the same. It's not going to look the same regardless of who's on the team. But do you prefer it being as balanced as it was? Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a good, balanced offense, it's hard for defenses to predict what you're doing. And I think you saw that is whenever we ran the ball well, defenses had to start coming up a little bit, change their coverages that they wanted to play, bring some pressures. And when they did, we were able to execute with the pass game. And kind of vice versa, whenever we're passing the ball well, I feel like the defenses have to back up, and then we can run the ball. And so in order to be a great offense, I think you have to have that balance. And whenever defenses try to take one of them away, we're able to do the other.
We'll get Isaiah in a second. And Andy's talked about how he's grown within the playbook. How have you seen growth from Isaiah over these 4 games?
Yeah, with all rookies, you have to continue to evolve them more and more and keep them kind of in tune to the game plan. And I think Isaiah was a good point of that. Of not only, I mean, we've always known he could run the ball. He can catch the ball and make plays happen, but knowing where he's at in protection, knowing how to run this run versus this based off the blocking and the defensive looks. And I think that's starting to come together with him, and now it's about him continue to build and continue to get better in that sense because you can be physically talented, but in order to set blocks up and really be a great running back in this league, you have to have that next step, and that's the mind of a running back and being able to go out there and execute every down.
Patrick, you're going to be pretty busy here, obviously, today, but it's a big day for Brittany and the Current. And I just wonder what you think about the meaning of what they're trying to do and how that resonates.
Yeah, as an organization, I think the Longs and Brittany have done a great job of just really strengthening and I guess embracing and going with those women and putting them in the right position to go out and succeed. And I think you've seen it on the field is they believe in those girls, those women to go out there and play at a high level. And they've the state-of-art facility. They're building the brand new stadium now, letting them show that we believe in them. And they do it the right way as an organization. I think you can see that whenever they play on the field.
And one other franchise question. I mean, you're obviously an investor in the Royals. I don't know if you take the time to follow exactly what's happening closely with the changes they've made, but I wonder if you have any impressions of that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm an investor, but I watch kind of how everybody else does. I'm obviously a little bit more invested just because I have money in there. But I'm excited for the young guys that they have. Obviously, I like the staff that they had before, but they wanted to move in a different direction and kind of invest in those young guys. And obviously, the record wasn't what we wanted this year. But they have the talent and they have the young guys now. Let's infuse some veterans in there and try to turn it around as quickly as possible.
Patrick, there was a viral clip, I don't want to call it a clip, but of the NFL Live yesterday. And Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, and Dan Orlovsky, they were talking about the difference between being under center, being the shotgun, and the different formation in the play. So do you prefer being under center to where you can kind of disguise the play if you're going to play action, or do you prefer being in the shotgun?
I think there's a time and place for. I saw the clip. It was like 8 minutes, so I didn't watch it yet, but I'm going to. Okay, apparently, it was really good. Obviously, there's a time and place for both. I think us as an offense, whenever we're running the ball well from under center, that play action does kind of develop a little bit better because you get that really hard sell and the linebackers really come up, and then you can kind of strike over the top. But at the same time, we don't want to get away from our identity, and I feel like we can be under center, but we are in the gun probably predominantly, and I don't want to get into a place where we're going under center just to play action. You want to make sure that it ties in together with whatever your game plan entails, and that's something I think Coach Reed and EB do a great job of.
Talk about the 50-50 balance and how that sometimes gets you guys into a rhythm more. You were able to get Travis going early. Is there like a palpable sense if you're able to get Kelsey going early, you feel like this offense can cook all game long?
I think every game plays out differently. I think it helps for sure because once Travis gets going, he creates a lot of attention that goes to him, and it helps other guys get favorable matchups. But I think we just had a good understanding of let's get the ball in my hands quickly, get to our guys, our playmakers in space. Let's run the ball, give their defensive line a lot of different looks so that when we need a drop back pass game, our offensive line is at an advantage and they can go out there and show their talent, which they did.
Patrick, you mentioned getting the playmakers in space and more involved. McCole Hardman, 80 total snaps, 2 targets over the past 2 games. How do you balance getting him more involved and also just staying within the offense?
Yeah, I think he'll become more involved. I think he's got to get more and more healthy. I think you saw in the first few weeks he was having some good plays and making some stuff happen, and he got a little banged up, and he hasn't had that same production these last 2. But I think as he gets more and more healthy, he'll continue to be involved in this offense. He's got special talent, special speed, and we have a lot of different guys in that receiving room. But I expect all of them to be involved throughout this entire season.
Patrick, that dump off pass to touchdown pass to Clyde, you're right on the line of scrimmage, and it always seems like you have an innate sense of just kind of where that line of scrimmage is. Is that a feel thing for you, or is that something you're always seeing? You're always seeing the sticks.
I think it's more of a feel. There's times where I'm close. When I was a little close, I looked right at the line right after I threw it just to kind of see where I was at. But it's a feel where I know when I run a little bit further backwards, I have more room to run up. And I try to stay behind the line of scrimmage as long as possible because I'm not the fastest guy. But if I'm going to run, I make sure that I'm attacking the line of scrimmage. So I'm not going to try to go past it unless I know I have a chance to make some room.
And it helps, too, that you don't have to stay behind, right? You could have a toe just behind, and it counts as the whole body being behind, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think at the quarterback position, that people would be lying if they said they're like holding the foot back on purpose. So I think you just throw it and try to make sure that you're behind it and hope for the best.
Anything you learned or saw about that play that maybe you didn't realize at the time, now that you had a chance to look at it on video?
I knew at the time I got rolled up pretty bad, but I feel like I was lucky to get out of there without being really injured. And I saw the picture that was kind of going around Twitter, and I was like, man, all those ankle mobilities I've been doing really must have paid off.
Patrick, Travis turned 33, obviously, this week. You were here statistically when his age is in his prime, and now you're here when statistically it says he should be on the other side. How have you seen him evolve to maybe make sure that his speed declines if the production does not?
I think he's just smarter as a player. I think that's the biggest thing. He knows how to get himself open. He knows how to use other people and other parts of the concept to get himself open. And he's smart about how he blocks, how he can pin guys and get in the right position. And I think he's just continued to evolve and be even better as a tight end. And he is getting up there. I'm going to try to keep him here as long as possible, I promise you. But he's definitely someone that he's not taking any screens like 80 anymore, I don't think, but he's still going to make some production on the field.
Are there specific plays you can point to that sort of show what you're talking about with him?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the first touchdown last week, how he kind of motioned in and used those 2 guys that were kind of released to get himself some access so that he wasn't necessarily pressed up on. This stuff like that, that's stuff where, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you might just line him up in the spot and say, hey, just go win. Whereas now we give him a little freedom to motion a little bit and get himself open so that he can use his talents and go out there and put up numbers like he always does.
Patrick, you in an interview were talking about the fun plays and getting a chance to design them. You were talking about the going in motion. You were joking around about that. Is that something you guys work on in minicamp and training camp, or is there a little pocket each week where Andy, opens it up to kind of keep things loose and fun?
It's definitely, I mean, we work on it in mini camp and training camp and stuff like that, but we during special teams, all those guys that aren't in that special teams that day, we come over there and we kind of work on and design our own plays with the coaches. We have a little window there where Coach Reed, he lets special teams obviously have a big part of the practice, and so we work on our plays then, and then I take them to Coach Reed, and we see if we can get them in the game plan.
Patrick, is Raiders week, what makes them so different?
Yeah, you know it's going to be a battle every single time. It's going to be both teams trying to play their best football. It's a true rivalry. We know that it doesn't matter what the records are. You're going to go out there and play. It's going to be a dogfight. And they had a great football team. I mean, their record, they don't have the best record, but every game they've been in the game or been leading the game at certain points. So we understand it's going to be a great challenge for us. And especially Monday night at Arrowhead, we want to go out there and find a way to win.
Last two go Harold and then Matt. Go Harold.
Patrick, how did you convince Andy to do the commercial, and then what did you think of Andy's acting performance?
Yeah, I made State Farm ask him first because I was scared. But once they asked him, he kind of came to me and asked me if I wanted him to do it, and obviously I did because I know how much personality he has. I think some of y'all understand it too, and people don't see it. They see the coach. They don't see how fun he is and how funny he is. And then once I got in there, he actually got to start before me, and then I came in. And I mean, he did a great job. I think he stole the show, and I'm just trying to hold on to my State Farm partnership now with Coach Reed.
Patrick, you've been on the road a bunch this season. Just how excited are you to get back and play in front of Chiefs Kingdom on Monday night?
Yeah, you said it, man. I'm super excited. Luckily for us, it'll be our second primetime game at Arrowhead. I'm excited to be in front of Chiefs Kingdom. They brought it that first game, and I know they're going to bring it on Monday night. I'm ready to be back home.
Thanks, Patrick.
Patrick, does that hoodie come like that sleeve?